Hello and welcome. Let's talk about sound. I mean, we're surrounded by it 24/7, but have you ever really stopped to think about what makes a sound? A sound? Why does a violin sound so different from a trumpet, even when they're playing the exact same note? Well, today we're going to dig into the very building blocks of everything we hear.
I mean, really think about that for a second. A piano and a guitar can play the same note, say a middle C, and they can play it at the exact same volume. And yet, there's no way you'd ever mix them up, right? Your brain just knows. Each sound has its own unique character, and we're about to find out exactly why that is. So, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the basic anatomy of any sound. Then we're going to get into its three core ingredients: loudness, pitch, and something called quality. And stick around because at the end, we're going to put it all together so you can really hear the full picture. All right, so where do we even begin with this? Well, believe it or not, every single sound you can possibly imagine, from a massive orchestra to a tiny little tap on your desk, can be understood by looking at just three fundamental characteristics. And here they are, the big three. Loudness, which is pretty much what it sounds like; pitch, which you can think of as the musical note of the sound; and quality, sometimes called timbre. This is the secret sauce, the thing that gives every sound its own unique fingerprint. Let's dive into each one.
Let's start with the one we all get right away: loudness. This is all about the power, the sheer intensity behind a sound.
Now, the official kind of textbooky definition is that loudness is just the thing that lets us tell a loud sound from a faint one. Simple enough. But what's really going on a physical level that creates that difference?
This is such a great way to visualize it. Imagine you've got a little ping pong ball resting on a drum. If you tap the drum gently, the ball barely hops. But if you hit it hard, that drum skin vibrates like crazy and launches the ball way up in the air. That bigger, more intense vibration is what creates a louder sound. So the key takeaway is simple. More vibration means more power, which means more loudness.
So how do we actually, draw that power? Well, scientists represent sound as a wave. And that huge vibration from the hard drum hit, it creates a much taller wave. The height of the wave is called its amplitude. So as you can see here, the soft sound has a short, gentle little wave, while the loud sound has this big, tall, powerful one. So amplitude just equals loudness. And to put this into perspective, we measure loudness using a scale called decibels. So a whisper is about 30 decibels. Very faint. Your average conversation is around 60. But look at the jump to a police siren. 120 decibels is literally painful. And a rocket taking off at 140? Yeah, the scale isn't just a simple line. It ramps up incredibly fast. Okay, so we've got loudness down. It's all about power. Now let's move on to our second characteristic: pitch. This is all about the highness or lowness of a sound. The official definition talks about telling a shrill sound from a grave one. That's just a fancy way of saying a high sound versus a low sound, right? Think a tiny flute versus a big bass drum. And the key word here, the one thing that determines pitch, is frequency. Just look at these two waves side by side. The difference is so clear. Frequency is really just how often a wave vibrates, or how close together the waves are. That low-pitched sound has these slow, lazy, stretched-out waves. But the high-pitched sound? The waves are super fast, all bunched up together. So more waves crammed into the same amount of time means a higher frequency, which our ears hear as a higher pitch. Okay, let's just pause for a second and make sure we've got this straight. Loudness is all about the height of the wave, that's the amplitude. Pitch is all about the speed of the wave, that's the frequency. So loudness is the difference between hitting a drum soft versus hitting it hard. Pitch is the difference between plucking a thick, slow vibrating bass string versus a thin, fast vibrating one. They're two totally different things. And that brings us to the third and honestly the most fascinating characteristic: quality. This is the one. This is the true fingerprint of a sound. It's the reason we're even asking our question today. Why a piano and a guitar playing the same note at the same loudness still sound completely different? This right here is the magic ingredient. Even if the loudness, the amplitude is the same, and the pitch, the frequency is the same, there is something else that our ears are picking up on, and that something is the quality or timbre of the sound. So what is it? This is so cool. Check this out. On the top, that's the sound wave from a tuning fork. It's a perfect, smooth, simple wave. It produces a very pure, almost boring tone. But below it, that's the wave from a piano playing the exact same note. Look at it. It's messy, it's complex, it's jagged. That unique shape is the sound's fingerprint. That's its quality.
So why is a piano wave so wild and complex? Well, it's because it isn't just one wave. It's actually a mix. You have the main note, that's the fundamental frequency, but then you have a whole bunch of other, smaller, quieter waves called overtones, all layered on top of each other. It's this unique recipe of different frequencies that creates that one-of-a-kind waveform that our brain goes, ah, that's a piano.
All right, you've made it. You now have all the tools. You know about loudness, you know about pitch, and you know about quality. So let's put that new knowledge to the test. Let's see if we can analyze a sound just by looking at its wave.
So here we have two different sound waves, wave A and wave B. They're obviously different, but the question is, how?
So here's your challenge. Take a good look. Based on everything we've talked about, which one of these sounds do you think is louder? And which one is shriller, has a higher pitch? Remember what we said about amplitude and frequency.
Okay, ready for the answer? Let's break it down. For loudness, we have to look at the amplitude, the height of the wave. And wave B is clearly taller than wave A, so B is the louder sound. Easy. Now for pitch, we're looking at frequency, how close the waves are. And if you look, wave A's vibrations are packed much more tightly together. That means it has a higher frequency, making it the shriller, higher-pitched sound. See? Simple as that.
So let's just wrap it all up one last time. Loudness depends on amplitude. Think of it like the volume knob on your stereo. Pitch depends on frequency, that's the actual musical note being played, and quality, or timbre, depends on the overall waveform. That's the sound's unique fingerprint.
And that's really it. It's kind of amazing, right? The infinite variety of sounds in our world. Every piece of music, every voice, every noise in nature, it's all just an endless combination of these three simple, elegant properties. They're like the DNA of sound.
So my challenge to you is this. The next time you put on your favorite song, I want you to listen to it a little differently. See if you can pick out the high-frequency cymbal crashes from the low-frequency bass line. Can you really appreciate the complex waveform of the singer's voice that makes it uniquely theirs? Now that you know the physics, what new details will you hear?